Okay, our item number 2 is a traffic calming for Hillside. Again, we can have Ms. Pam.
And we'll continue with Hillside Drive. So Hillside Drive went through a similar process as Amargosa. So we won't go over the beginning of the slide, we'll just jump into the details with the streets. So a neighborhood meeting was held on May 9th of this year at Pine Avenue Community Center. During this neighborhood meeting, staff had proposed 2 conceptual plans. And based on the concern that we heard during the meeting, we adjusted the plan and added additional traffic circle and additional speed cushion. So the final conceptual plan consists of 2 traffic circle and 4 speed cushion, and that was selected as the preferred plan by the meeting attendees. And similar to Amargosa, we sent out letters to residents that are adjacent to these proposed features on May 15, 2019. And during this time, staff has not received any objection to these locations. And here is a exhibit of where these proposed features are. The 2 traffic circle is on Hillside and Valencia Drive and Cordoba Place. And the other 4 speed cushion are spread across Hillside Drive. So on June 6, 2019, 53 surveys were mailed out. And out of the 53, 42 surveys were returned, and that equates to a 79% return rate. And out of those 42, 34 was in support of this traffic calming plans, and that equals to 81%. And this also meets the criteria outlined in the CRTMP. On June 10, 2019, a notification letter was sent out to all the residents informing of the survey result and the TSC date. And during this time, staff received an objection to the proposed traffic circle at Valencia Avenue. So upon receiving the objection or the concern that we received, staff looked into the amount of parking that will be removed if a traffic circle is placed. And based on this preliminary design, it looks like 45 feet of the intersection on the curb on the north side of Hillside Drive will be removed, and the potential of 47 spacing can be preserved for parking. Staff also look into if we preserve the parking, and if the parking is not utilized, it will actually make the traffic circle ineffective because car can hug the curb and actually drive on a speed where they are not deflected. So it would be compromise the effectiveness of this traffic circle. So staff went ahead and developed a conceptual alternative plan, which consists of replacing the traffic circle with a speed cushion at Valencia Avenue. And this is very similar to the conceptual plan we developed at the very beginning of the stage when we presented to the neighborhood during the neighborhood meeting, which is the speed cushion. And based on the finding contained in the staff report and the requirement of the Carlsbad Residential Traffic Management Program, staff recommends City Council approval of the Hillside Alternative Traffic Calming Plan, which is the speed cushion.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Question. So just understanding this, on Kelly Drive, the cross between Kelly Drive and Hillside Drive, there is a traffic circle in place there, right?
Correct.
And then also too on Park Drive and Kelly Drive?
Yes.
That's correct.
So will 5.3 on the display, will that be the same, or is that a different?
That will be the 6-inch raised concrete and not the dome.
Okay. And then from Kelly Drive to Hillside, if you're going from Kelly Drive north, making a left onto Hillside, passing the school, is that an incline, or is it a decline, or is it a flat elevation?
From Kelly to Valencia is a decline, and that's where the speed is picking up.
Okay. And then last thing for me is on Hillside, adjacent to Kelly Elementary School. Is that a parking for school for a drop-off, or is that a traffic area for, does that make?
On Kelly Drive itself?
On Hillside next to Kelly Elementary School.
I do believe it's used for school parking, drop-offs and pickups as well.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Commissioner Linky?
So the objection to the number 3, I guess, the traffic circle, that was based on loss of parking?
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Commissioner Fowler?
So that map we didn't get in advance, I guess.
Yes, I apologize.
No problem. So what is your feeling about the effectiveness of a traffic circle versus a speed pillow in any context first, and then what is the impact of this change other than if we forget it for parking for a moment, just for in terms of its effectiveness, in terms of speed calming?
If done correctly, they should be equally effective, but because of the concerns that we received of trying to preserve on-street parking adjacent to the proposed traffic circle, we may not have been able to provide the necessary horizontal deflection ideally. I think ideally that 47 feet probably should have been utilized as a curb extension or something to push vehicles approaching the circle towards the center, and then they would have to deflect. If we tried to preserve that as a parking area and it's unoccupied, which it may be, there's a tendency for cars to circumvent a traffic circle by hugging the curb. And so in this case, we wouldn't have been able to provide all the necessary features to make the traffic circle effective. If we were to provide all those features, we believe that both the speed cushion and the traffic circle would be about equally effective.
If you have a street that's intersecting, as Valencia is on Hillside, will you always start with the assumption that it should be a roundabout there?
Not necessarily, especially at a T. I think we're learning as we go through these neighborhoods and laying these traffic circles out that there are some limitations. And at a T configured intersection, there would be a significant amount of parking needed to be prohibited, which may play into the acceptance of that plan by the residents. And we'll be sure to make sure that we lay that out to the residents if we were to propose a circle at a similar location.
That's all.
Thank you.
When you mailed out the letters to the residents and asked them if they would approve the plan, it was based on the traffic circle at Valencia?
Yes, it was. So the survey that we sent out had a traffic circle at Valencia. We're proposing a change based on the comments that we received after that concept plan was finalized. What staff would do if the commissioners would make a recommendation to support the alternative plan is to resend the survey to all the residents to make sure that they understand that there's been a change to the plan and that we want them to know that it's a different plan. We don't want to surprise them if they assume that there's a circle at Valencia and we're not putting that in. So a survey would be sent out and we would only proceed if the new survey would meet the same requirements that the original survey met.
Okay, so will they be asked to vote again?
Yes, the survey would be sent out and they would be asked to support this alternative plan.
Okay. The traffic circle at Cordova, do you have an idea of how that will work as far as your horizontal deflection to reduce speeds there? How big does it have to be?
We haven't laid it out, we have to do the engineering, but just from a general traffic engineering perspective, deflection is going to be easier to achieve on a four-legged intersection with a small traffic circle. You can make it bigger because of the way the intersection is configured. At a T intersection, that minimum 12-foot travel lane that we would have to provide makes that circle smaller. We don't have that type of restriction on a four-way intersection, so we believe we'd be able to make that work better than at a T.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Yeah, we covered on the resend of the survey, which is what I was gonna do. Critical speed on that road?
This one is 32 miles per hour.
Ooh, right on the edge, huh?
Correct.
Better be faster than that. Everybody else covered my stuff, so I'm good.
A couple of questions. On your alternative plan, I see that you have 2 number 4s for speed bumps. I think that should be 3.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Minor. The other thing is, John, as you've been talking about going along with the traffic calming all the years and trying to refine it, do we have any type of list of requirements for traffic circles or traffic roundabouts so that we consider, I know LA County has one where they consider neighborhood usage, view, and all that stuff. So do we have anything like that or plan to have that?
We utilize all the currently available research documentation as it relates to traffic circles. We have standards from different cities, but if you look at programs, they're tailored toward their own individual cities. A street with a big grid network is very different than Carlsbad, so we've been trying to make use of all the available references and also creating our own path as well, utilizing these projects as an environment to implement best features for Carlsbad specifically.
So we haven't come up with one specifically for Carlsbad use.
Are you referring to design standards for traffic
Just
circles?
requirements, conditions to consider before you go into design, you know, the location, driveways, schools, all the other.
Yeah, I mean, we have an understanding. Our program describes some of the situations that a traffic circle would work well in. And so, yes, we have that written into our program where we would be able to select conditions where a traffic circle would
Okay.
work well.
Thank you. Now, public. I have a speaker, Ronnie, and I can't read your last name, so please state it, and you have 3 minutes.
It's Mayben, M-A-Y-B-E-N.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I've got handouts for you all too. I live in that house where the traffic circle is going to be at 4866. So I'm here to dispute the traffic circle, but if it's being taken out of the plan, then I'm happy with that. I don't know that it's safe there, and I'm very concerned about losing that much parking. I lived in this house almost 20 years, and one of the reasons I bought this house is because of all the parking. So I also have 2 roommates. I'm rent a room out upstairs to Jen, who just handed out your thing, and then I have an adult son at the house right now too. I'm fine with this new plan, but I can tell you right now, I'm going to object to that speed cushion being right underneath their bedroom windows. If that can be moved to the left to, I don't know if I can point where that number 4 is, if it can kind of be moved in between my property and the house next door, it's not going to disturb anybody's bedrooms on any of the houses there. But where you put that thing now is right directly underneath 2 bedroom windows. So noise-wise, I'll reject it on the survey, even though I'm happy with the neighborhood being a traffic calming zone. I've lived there for 20 years. It's a very it's a hard street. I'm on a blind curve. It's really hard getting in and out of my driveway. And that was one of my biggest objections to the traffic circle as well, because I don't think you can see it coming. You can come around that blind curve as fast as people come. I'd like to still see a second traffic circle, but up towards Horizon where the speed is. When you're coming down Hillside, that's where it's really fast. It'd be nice to have something at the very top of like at Horizon to slow it down. Right. So in what I've given you, you're gonna see aerial views of where my house is located to show you that it's on the blind curve, and if that new speed cushion could be moved west in between 4866 and 4803, I think that would make more sense as far as the speed cushion goes. Any questions for me?
No. Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any other questions or clarifications? No?
In that case, I will make a motion.
Commissioner Blanky?
I was just gonna ask what the implications would be of moving it to where Ms. Maven suggested, or can it be between 4866 and 4868? Or I don't know.
Yeah, we'll put that in the motion.
If there's implications though from the.
I think her original request was between 4866 and 4803, was
Right,
it?
yeah.
It's going to depend on the features that we find out there. We'll take a look at it. There looks like in terms of spacing, there's an opportunity to move on that side. But we can't put a speed cushion where there are manholes or valve covers, things like that. So if that area is clear, and we also don't want to put it in directly in front of a driveway if we can help it. So staff will look to see if we can relocate it there, and if so, that will be the alternative plan that you propose. Otherwise, if we can't, we'll have to go with this location that's shown on the map.
Any other comments?
Can I ask
Yes.
a question? So are we gonna vote on alternatives, or is the alternative what's before us to vote on?
The alternative or the original. Whatever you want to.
So that's a possibility. Okay, so then my question is, if that really is a blind curve, that is interesting that she brought up. And what would you say about that? What, coming on a traffic feature, let's say, calming device, what have you. What do you say about warning, from a blind curve? Do you have a remedy for that, or do you not think it as serious, or what's your ideas about that?
Either feature that we would select in the vicinity of Valencia, we would make sure that it is visible. If we would need to augment it with warning signs, that's what we would do. We think that the benefit of traffic calming would remain the same. I think the blind corner, if you reduce speeds, becomes safer, and so therefore the plan that we are proposing would benefit the community throughout that corridor, especially or even in the vicinity of that curve. But we would mark it appropriately using signage and pavement legends to make sure that it is visible in advance of approach.
Okay, and so that would apply also to a speed pillow?
Yes.
Oh. Thank you, that's,
It's not really that blind, it's just kind of a corner.
well, it's hard, a little hard to tell.
Yeah, you can see the pictures.
Commissioner Pansears?
I'm thinking out loud here. I wonder if we should make a motion that we would approve this, the alternative, with the, with a rider that it would be brought back to us as soon as they decide where to put this thing. And with the results of the next survey that you're going to get.
Are you making a motion?
Yeah, okay, I'll make that.
Or could we just say contingent upon the survey being, if the survey recipients agree to it, then we wouldn't need to redo it again unless you want to. Just take a step out.
Okay,
Which is what my motion would say, unless you want to change yours to say that.
okay.
So your motion is that we approve the alternate plan contingent upon the survey meeting the standard criteria.
Sounds fine.
And they will also look at the location of that new speed bump.
Yes.
Preferably not under somebody's bedroom window.
Correct.
And just for clarification in the motion, are you specifying that if staff is able to feasibly move the speed pillow that is currently located under the windows, they should do so?
Yes.
Okay.
And just
Do I
for
hear
the,
a second?
just for the record, is Hunter or Pensiers that is making the motion?
I was clarifying his motion,
And seriously,
so we'll let it be his motion.
Okay, thank you.
Are you
Can you
clear
say-
on the motion? You want to repeat it?
So you can actually second it.
In that case, I will second it.
Steve or Linky, Commissioner Linky, could you repeat the motion so that it would be put down correctly? Pardon you? Mr. Pensiers, okay.
So the motion would be, we would approve the alternate plan with the proviso that, or the contingent that the survey results when the final placement of the speed cushion is determined, come back and meet the requirements of the traffic calming plan.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
good, thank you.
A second?
I'll second it again.
Okay.
And it's also, we also should include the if the speed bump can be moved to an area not in front of the, or not below a window or a bedroom window or driveway.
Thank you.
Are you willing to make that amendment to your motion?
I am.
I will still second it.
Okay.
Can we, are we allowed, so this is a procedural question,
Mhm.
can we discuss the motion as it stands now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I discuss.
Yes.
So I'm wondering now, first of all, so there are a lot of moving parts to this motion, and I'm wondering whether that means the plan really isn't ready yet. And I'm wondering how this gets enforced and all of that kind of thing, and maybe this is a legal opinion about this, but the kind of core thing is maybe this plan isn't fully baked yet because of approvals and there's some objections and then things like that, so.
So how I interpret this motion is staff will go back, look at the feasibility of moving that one speed pillow away from the windows. If it's feasible, you'll move it. You'll then go out to a vote of the neighborhood. If the neighborhood votes in favor per the CRTMP guidelines, then you have your approval to move forward to council on it. Otherwise, they're back to the drawing board and they'll be bringing forward another item.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Okay, and you're okay with that?
Yes.
Are you ready to vote? Are you having any further questions? Okay.
Push the button. Both buttons, yeah.
We have an approval of the alternative plan
You know which was that?
601